All right, welcome everyone to the April 15th meeting of the MLP board and tax day. I hope you all got your taxes in.
Ah,
Um,
well, extension.
We got an
Excellent.
extension, yes.
The best money I spend every year is my accountant. It
Ah,
is, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, let the experts do it. I am Gail Huntress, MLP manager facilitating the meeting. This meeting is fully remote. Participating remotely, we also have MLP board members Jim Hemingway, Graham Sefton, and Steve Schmidt. And joining us also, we have community member Craig Martin. First order of business is to approve the previous meeting minutes as submitted and amended for March 18th.
so moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second,
Second.
Thank you. Excellent. And all in favor of approving the minutes? Jim,
aye.
Graham,
Aye.
and Steve.
Aye.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's jump right in with the hut report because we've had some fun with our HVACs lately.
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear me? I
I
can't hear
can.
myself.
Yeah, and Graham,
Okay.
do you want to take it or should I read my notes on this?
Yeah, no. The essence of um, so the as of last month, the North unit is had a leak and presumably is still leaking. The technician, the PVE technician, topped it up with refrigerant. So the refrigerant was leaking. Probably must be still leaking. And they gave a price for an estimate for replacing it. They gave you a couple of estimates, didn't it? And one of those estimates was Mitsubishi. So the other unit um, is working in cooling mode. The mouse one now, the south unit, is working in in cooling mode. It had been turning itself off whenever it was in automatic. So maybe it'll keep going. And I've mostly had the mouse one off, the south unit off, because the I wanted to see the leaky one, how long it would work. It continues to work okay. I can actually tell that it is not failing on refrigerant pressure because when it does that, it uses a lot more electricity. And I can see, or I could see that last time on the power monitoring unit. Uh, so yeah, we need to replace the worst one first, I think, which is the leaky one. Um, so everything else in the hut looked good last night, though the storm was wicked bad. Man, it
Yeah,
came
that was
crashing down
something.
rain. Yeah, it was something. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. I was
and,
saying at the beginning of the meeting, we didn't have any outages though. No, we
yeah,
didn't lose any drops. I mean, I think it was just really, really
huh,
hard rain. And especially if there's no leaves on the trees, I think that's less impactful on the trees. You know, it doesn't like grab them as much. So
Yep.
we were lucky in that. So just to finish off on the HVAC, so Graham and I talked about this whole thing, and so our go forward plan here is to leave the south mouse unit in cooling mode because that's what we need for the summer, and it's hopefully not going to shut itself off because that has a tendency to happen in auto mode. Pioneer Valley said that that's a kind of a known issue, and we'll see how long the north unit holds up. It may last the summer if this refrigerant leak is really, really small. Graham will continue to monitor the electricity there. So we hopefully get a heads up, but kind of like while it fails or before it fails. Um, and we will replace it when needed. Our two quotes were for the custom comfort for 9,442 and the Mitsubishi for 9,233. I think at the last meeting, we already talked about how we don't want the custom comfort. They're too new, they're not established, they're not a major known manufacturer, and they're more expensive. So if it does need replacement, I will, unless anyone has any objections, I will go ahead and schedule a replacement of the using the Mitsubishi one for that north unit when it fails.
So
No-brainer.
Yeah.
good, good plan. So I'm curious now about the South unit, also known as the Mouse unit.
Yeah, I
Uh,
like the mouse unit name kind of better, but okay, continue.
yeah, that we had assumed that this random shutting down was due to the mouse damage or the lingering effects of its impact on the electronics. And how can you tell, what's happening to electronics? It's not like some mechanical device you take apart and see where the damage is. Um, but the service people now mentioning that this is a known problem of it shutting off in auto mode. So maybe its current problems aren't related to the mouse issue, and it's just an inherent problem with that unit when running in auto mode, which of course is not good, but at least our workaround is to manually set it for either auto or I mean, either cool or heat, whatever we need, and maybe we can keep going with that way.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
possibly. And
hopefully.
yeah. Yeah. And
Mm,
then, and also because we have a space heater there now, I do wonder if maybe running these units in just one mode at a time requires less of something, about them. And like, okay, all we're monitoring is the cool. It's not quite as taxing on them. So, we could get lucky here, which would be nice because we have been so unlucky when it comes to our HVACs between the power surges and the mice and everything. Um, so so yeah, and Steve also, I know you sent that email, and I just wanted to say, never feel badly about making suggestions. That I think it's always good to walk around them, and I think it's something we do really well as a committee is interrogate options of like, why not? Why not a residential, air conditioner? Why wouldn't that? And so yeah, and we're going to look at all the information, we're going to make a best call, and who knows if installing these mini splits was good or bad. You can't we don't know, you can't do an A/B comparison. We don't know what the costs of for, maintenance and electricity and everything would have been if we just installed what some of the other MLPs did, just the recommended things. So anyway, I just wanted to say that like never hold back from suggesting something. We'll walk around it, we'll interrogate it, we'll ask the questions and come out with a best decision at the end and live with it. No. Um, let's see for I did want to mention that Pioneer HVAC did not charge us for this second diagnostic visit. Graham, I don't know if I told you that. So, they
good.
sent the over the last month or whatever, they sent out somebody first to do the diagnosis who was like spent hours there and couldn't fix it, and then they sent kind of like their expert guy in the second one. So they didn't charge us for that second one, which I was pleased about. Um, so that we're not like being charged for multiple visits when they couldn't figure it out initially.
Good.
Good.
Yeah. Um, let's see. I saw, Graham, your email to United Concrete to figure out our R values to see if maybe we should insulate our hut a little bit better. Um, so thanks for reaching out to him.
I
Um,
did a seat of the back of the envelope calculation of the R value based
okay.
um, on it being concrete, standard concrete, and or uh, concrete has very little R value. Concrete's about like a fraction of an R unit per inch. So assuming it's 2 inches, then it's like, a quarter of an R dash 0.25 for the concrete. And then it said 2 inches of insulation they didn't say what the insulation was. So I just assumed that was some sort of foam, an average foam insulation. Anyhow, the calculation I get um, is something like five, uh, maybe six, R6 or R7,
Mm.
but less than R10. That's my guess. And for buildings that are heated or cooled in our zone, you're supposed to have well, actually for New York City zone, floors R19, walls R15, and ceiling R60. So um, it could do with a little more R, I reckon. Um, if we and the easiest way to do that might be the some sort of encapsulation of the whole hut. Then you don't have to stuff around on the inside with things that are already on the walls. So yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine any solution where stuffing the insides would work for us. There's just
Yeah.
like there's not enough room. There's too
Uh,
much crap on the walls. It just I
busy walls, yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I wonder what a I don't know. Do you just buy a second hut and put it on the first hut?
Well, yeah. Nested huts, yeah.
Nested huts, little Russian dolls of
Yeah.
hutting. I don't know.
Russian huts, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, Graham, thank you for reaching out to them. And I saw what the specs were for the hut, and just is 2 inches, but yeah, it doesn't tell you what it is.
Hmm.
I mean, assume it's a rigid board of
Ah,
some sort. Or yeah, I suppose it could have been sprayed in when they after they. We don't know. That would be a
ah,
useful thing to know.
yeah. But I assume some sort of foam, and the foams are all, there's a range of R values for foam, and I just picked the average one. So
Okay.
All right. Let's see. We need I have on my list to do a hut caretaker succession plan. So, Graham, I'll be in touch with you outside of meeting here to document that. I have some great documentation from you already that is in our manual, so I'll pull that together. And once we get a handle on that, I'll work with you to write that up so that we know exactly what you're doing, so that we can do a smooth handoff to whoever is next. It might be me, it might be Andy, our new member, assuming that he wins the election. Um, let's see what else.
I'll,
Oh, big
I'll
thing.
just
Oh, go ahead, Steve.
throw in one thing there. I don't think the hut maintenance person needs to be a board member either. If there was somebody in the
True.
community
Hmm.
that really liked
totally.
little projects like that, but they didn't want to belong to a board. They didn't want to have to run for office. They didn't want to have to sit through meetings like this, but kind of liked to go down and do a little project and, was good with tinkering with things. That
Good suggestion. Don't let them tinker with the network, though.
no, no,
No, no unplugging.
Yeah. No unplugging. No
no.
looking down the fibers. Yeah. That's a good suggestion. There's no reason for them to be on the board. They're just looking after a hut.
Yeah,
Outside the concrete box there, Steve. That's good.
right. Thinking outside the box. Ha. All right. Let's see. In other news, big thanks to Graham, who got a new router installed at the Shutesbury Athletic Club. I did help, but it was
Gail,
mostly it
Gail,
was
and
mostly standing on stools and stuff.
Gail, invaluable. Yeah. But we did it together, just for the record.
Yep. Um, we still haven't installed the router on the outs a new access point rather under the pavilion there. And so that's still
It is plugged in at 10 meg.
yeah.
Totally working.
Yeah, so it's kind of working, but we've determined that the Ethernet cable that serves it is pretty old and maybe never worked to begin with. So we're gonna
Ah,
cut off both ends, re-terminate it, test it. And Graham, I don't know if I mentioned this, Nate has a Ethernet tester.
yeah.
So we have the equipment to not just kind of guess if it's good or not, but actually test it. If it is not good, Graham made a good point that we don't want to be messing with the drop ceiling at the Shutesbury Athletic Club in case there is any kind of contamination up there of,
It was a wicked mess when I was above that ceiling 25 years ago. So
you know. So,
Problem hasn't got
I,
better.
So then what's the solution?
yeah, so I think
I
our
missed it.
plan B, so let's say we terminate the Ethernet that's installed there is just not good.
Right.
Then I suggest we try pull through. We take the old cord and just see if we can pull it through without just, I mean, yes, it'll disturb a little bit of stuff, but no, like we're not going to mess with the acoustic tiles or anything. Just see if we can get a new one pulled through, and that should do it. If that doesn't work, we'll come up with a plan C yet to be determined. But I think Graham has a really good point that as a kind of just a volunteer service here, getting into messing with ceiling installations is more than we in the MLP want to get involved with. So we could just say, here, SAC, you need to get this from here to here, and then plug this in.
I think
Um,
that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and well, also because we don't. What if we break something, and it's just more than
Yep.
what any of us want to get involved in.
Yep.
So that's the plan there. But the one we do have installed is performing very nicely. No complaints from the SAC, and the speeds are much faster, and it seems to be able to handle the traffic so far.
And the one in the pavilion, I checked on when there was the trivia night the other night, and that it was actually that you can tell from the online, app, which you have too, Gail,
Yeah.
that it was carrying the satellite unit was carrying about 10 or 12 of the people plus the display. So it wasn't heavily loaded. And as Gail alluded, it's only feeding at 10 megabits per second Ethernet. So it's not a very it would rather be doing gig, but yeah, it's working at 10 meg, and it was carrying people. So the other interesting thing that I learned when we were testing this satellite was that it was a little bit what I said last month that speed tests on the there's an inconsistency or something going wrong. So I Googled it, and sure enough, it said that when you do just a speed test with your device on a satellite, you're not going to get much better than half of the speed that it's actually working at because of the steps that it has to get back to the test that it's going to. It has to get back to the router and then beyond. So, and it talked about bottlenecks. So sometimes it does a lot worse than that. So, anyhow, there were a couple of times with the satellite type, the extenders that we were testing, that I was in the house here, and and as I complained, the speed tests just weren't making sense at all. So,
Mm.
yeah, there's something to consider if you're ever doing that.
Yep. Um, all right. Maintenance and service. 33 tickets in March, so a small uptick from the previous month, but still well within our normal ranges. Um, let's see. Financial report is we currently have a balance of $152,096. And then what is it? Three more months of MLP fees coming in. So we will end the year with a pretty healthy budget and surplus.
I assume the debt payment then has not been deducted from that balance yet.
Nope. So yeah, the debt payment of 97,900 is still to be taken out of that. Usually comes out in April. So by May we'll have a pretty complete picture. The storm season will be done, knock on wood. the debt payment will have gone. And, so we'll have a good sense then of how much we'll be carrying into the next fiscal year.
And do we have a bill yet for that repair down on January Hills Road area?
We do have a bill. I just got it yesterday. And the bill is not as bad as we thought. We took bets last time,
Yeah. Oh, you
non-binding
did.
bets on how much it was going to be. I think I bet like 12,000. And does everyone remember what their bets were?
Mm.
No.
Mm,
Okay.
Round 10.
Yeah, we're all betting around 10. Get this,
Yeah.
2,152.
Wow.
wow.
What?
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. So it was, and I think it was a fiber technician foreman and a ground person and a bucket truck each for 8 hours. I think maybe what saved us here is that there's no overtime. Um, and if you recall, I was like, there's only, two or three houses out, don't work overnight. So they worked for a little while and then they came back the next day. So
Mhm.
that was helpful, but it was even with that much much lower than I thought. And it was and Surtux did the work for us, but of course it's all under our contract pricing.
Mhm.
Oh, oh, good.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Mm.
Wasn't the 1,000 feet of cable a part of this repair?
Yes, good point, Jim. And that is going to show up on a different bill.
Ah, I
Yes,
see.
Okay.
that's a really good point.
Uh,
I didn't
uh,
remember that they had that big materials charge.
Probably $2 a foot, something of that order.
Okay. All right. Um, oh, speaking, as long as we're on the topic of materials here, last meeting we all voted and you gave me the green light to contact Shell to see if they would take the surplus spools off our hand because they're just sitting next to the highway barn, taking up space and slowly rotting into the ground. And we're just like, there's no application where we're gonna probably use these, so we should get them used somewhere so they just don't turn into expensive junk for us. Um, and so I contacted our town admin and said, how do you do this? What are the rules around getting rid of surplus material? I sent out an email to all of you about what those rules are. And there is a Mass General Law, Section 15 kind of spells it all out. Here's how a municipality can get rid of it. And you do have to basically do reverse bids and make that surplus material available to the anyone who wants to buy it. And then you have to or should, take the highest bid there, unless it's less than $10,000. In which case, if we as a board have a policy written down for how to dispose of leftover material, we can just enact that and as long as we have that written procedure, that counts and it has to be less than 10 grand. So, um, a couple things have happened. Lee has gone up and taken a good look at it and he said, "Yep, I think we can use this." And he's trying to work out a way for them to get them all, right? Because there's a big transportation issue here of getting, moving these huge reels. So he's going to work with his team on how are we going to take these and where are we going to store them and keep them and use them. I have asked him to give me an approximate pricing on what a reel of the 216s would be. Graham, I'm assuming that the one that's 216 is going to be the most expensive one because it has the most fibers.
Yeah, the
That's
issue
true.
for the issue for a big cable sitting on a reel outside going cooling, heating, is it gets a memory, and it ends up being very hard to use it when you're putting it up on a thing. So that might actually be a bit of a, that has been totally devalued. The heavy, all the heavy duty one, the big, the thicker ones, because that memory will be when they're putting it up that it's hard to lash it to
Oh, yeah.
the carrier. So that might be not much value there. My guess is it's a couple of $1,000 for the whole lot of them. That it's a second-hand price at this point, having sat out there and the sat out there with their reels slowly rotting. So, but
Yeah,
whatever they
yeah.
say.
For me, it's more like just documenting it. I need
Yeah,
to get
yeah,
so I asked Lee for the price of like just what's a price per foot of the most expensive fiber brand new, and from that I can extrapolate what these like lesser fibers would be, and then have just some documentation proving this out that yes, this is all worth less than $10,000, probably a lot less. That if we tried to sell it, I don't know if anyone would be interested in something like this. So,
yeah,
anyway, I will
So you
continue.
need a depreciation factor to put on
Right.
the initial, and it may be that the large diameter ones are the have a very high depreciation. They may be you know down to essentially zero value. And so
Yeah.
yeah.
How does one figure out a depreciation value? Like, where does that come from?
Yeah. And
Anyone know?
how does one document it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Of
I guess yeah, for that we'd have to put it out to bid and see what sort of bids we get. When nobody wants to pay us for them, they
We,
all appreciate by 100%. But
uh,
uh,
Well, that's
yeah,
one
well,
possibility is that we put it out for bid, and then when no one responds, then we're free and clear.
true. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'd love to not go through the song and dance of doing a bidding process if we can somehow
Yeah.
prove that it's less than 10,000. Um, let's see. Well, let me work on that of if I can get the price new and then ask around, maybe Sheld even knows this as a bigger entity who's maybe dealt with this before. Like,
Right.
how do you figure out depreciation of equipment in this? Well, we were talking about taxes. I know that my accountant has depreciation schedules for things like the computers that I use in my business, but I think that's a more known entity of a category of things. I think it's I think it's 5 years. Um,
well, isn't the cable when we were starting this project, wasn't it considered to be good in on the line in the field, good for 30 years, even though we said it really probably lasts longer than that, but that was sort of a general figure.
it
And
was
so,
indeed. Yeah.
and this stuff's been sitting there now for what, 7 years.
Uh,
Uh,
there's a
so
quarter right, 25% right there. Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
would depreciate it to 50%. Yeah, no more than.
Well, but the actual value is going to be less because if I'm ISP in wherever some other city, I don't want to put up a fiber that's got an appreciated lifetime, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
good point.
Because the cost of installation is ridiculously high, right?
yeah,
So
Yeah.
even if I say, okay, fine, I'll replace it instead of 30 years, I'll replace it in 23 years. No one's going to want to do that.
No, no.
yeah, yeah, because the labor installation cost is the same for brand new
Exactly.
or old. So,
Exactly. We
and
we
it's very
wouldn't have done,
high
we
cost.
wouldn't have
You
done
have to
that.
put in
Yeah,
a
we would
good
not
point,
have done that
Greg.
when we were building
Yeah,
ours.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. 75% reduction, 75% depreciated then. That might be a good sort of yeah. Yeah.
yeah, just let me ask around and see if I can get some documented data on like depreciation schedules for leftover fiber and condition of that fiber. Um, and yeah, just make sure we're doing due diligence here to prove out that this is not worth, putting it out to bid to recoup anything because it's lost so much value. Um, I think for tonight, if we can approve of the policy of if it is less than this, how to get rid of it. That way I can just run with it and make sure that we can work with Shell for them to take it. If they can't, I'll come back um, to all of you about next steps, which will likely be bidding. Um, so yeah, Graham?
One possibility occurred to me was yeah, one could just make an IGA agreement, right? I mean, you don't have to bid an IGA agreement, and their agreement would be we'll take it away for for $5, and we would be yeah, we would say yes, that would be good. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that works in this context though,
Uh,
because the Mass General Law Section 15 spells out um in detail that you are supposed to try to get the value from it if it's more than $10,000. And like it doesn't matter who you're giving it to, kind of, or who you're selling it to. There's
uh,
no special um uh kind of dispensation or exception that I see for fellow municipalities. Or like if you donated for a nonprofit, for example, um, uh, only at the bottom it says um, less than the fair market value to a charitable organization which has received a tax exemption. So you can give it to someone, but then they have to take a tax exemption for the value that it is. So it seems like they really don't want you just giving stuff, you know.
Yeah.
uh, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I reckon it's absolutely not worth $10,000. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah. Well, no, I
so
totally
much
agree. We just
so
have to
much less
prove
than
it.
that.
We just have to
Yeah,
like prove it
yeah.
out. So that's what I'll keep working on here.
Okay, yeah.
Um, is finding a way to do that.
All right.
Um,
You know, I'm thinking like there are about 40 towns that installed fiber networks around the same time we did, and a little after us. I wonder what other there must be other towns that are dealing with the same issue.
I don't think so. Because for most of the other towns, Westfield Gas and Electric did their build outs. And
Hmm.
so I would think that they are the holders of any of that excess material and it just got used up on the next project.
Okay.
Um, so I think we're an anomaly in that way.
Hmm.
I bet Leverett had excess materials, but they're not GPON, so it's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Um, so would you feel comfortable if we voted on adopting the policy or policy procedure for surplus materials valued at less than $10,000? So then the next 2 months, if I can prove it all out, that we can just move on that.
Do you have a
Sounds good.
proposal?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
great. Um, so I'm going to, why don't I just read out the policy and then one of you can make a motion to adopt it, a second it, and then we'll vote. Sound good?
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. So the draft of the policy up for consideration is when the Shutesbury MLP has equipment or materials it no longer needs, and the estimated value is less than $10,000, the board may choose to donate those items instead of selling them. Who we can donate to is another town or municipal light plant or a nonprofit or charitable organization, must be tax exempt. The steps we will follow is estimate the value of the items, discuss the proposed donation at a public board meeting, and finally take a vote. A majority of the board with a full quorum present must approve. If the board does not approve the donation, the items will be sold or disposed of following state law, such as through bids, auction, or resale markets as outlined in Section 15 of Mass General Law. And the goal of this policy is to make it easier to reuse equipment in a way that benefits other public or charitable organizations while still following Massachusetts law. Any questions, changes?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yep.
Can
I would move that we adopt that policy.
Excellent.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, Jim,
Aye.
Graham,
Aye.
and Steve?
Aye.
Okay, excellent. So I'm going to put this into our policy document so we have it. And I'll keep working on my end about doing the first step of estimating the value of the items.
Very good.
All right. Oh, and Craig, you had asked a question about using this process for the routers, which we have acquired so far for testing purposes. And
When we get to that point, which we're not there
yeah,
yet, but yeah.
yeah. And for that, it actually doesn't matter because we can distribute our routers to townspeople. That's what they were purchased for without problem. So if we wanted to, as long as we prove out that they've gone to benefit Shutesbury residents within our network, that falls within the grant.
Yeah, but
Tell me
we're
what you're
making the
thinking.
decision. We're making the decision to give it to particular Shutesbury residents, which could be seen as playing favorites, which we're not allowed to do.
I see.
We could raffle it. We could say the first 20.
Maybe, yeah, that is probably legitimate.
Yeah,
But I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah. My idea was to actually do a just do a lottery of
Okay.
at the end of this process when everyone who wants a new router has gotten one, we say, hey, we have some surplus from when we were doing these investigations into various models. If you want one, put your name in by this date, and then we pull the first name. Here's your pick. That one goes away. Next name. Take your pick of what's left. Next one until they're all gone. So that's kind of what I was thinking.
That's
And
that's
then
probably legit. I don't know.
okay,
Yeah, sounds good.
yeah. As long as we keep track of which addresses they go to, we can show to the state like these were distributed and used to the households that they were meant to serve, and it's all under our taxpayer umbrella.
Uh-huh.
Cool.
That's the real thing, is that we're not handing out goods and materials to people who aren't taxpayers here.
Yep.
And Gail, it would make it a lot more complicated to give them the pick. So I would figure we just decide, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because when you think about it, if you've got a back and forth of which one do you want, then, I don't know. So it gets messy.
Yeah, it's true. I have ideas for how kind of in a hands-off way we can control that. But we'll figure it
Okay.
out. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, sure.
We don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, I'm just looking over the agenda list of all the stuff here. Did we cover everything? Okay. The last thing that we need to talk about is, as always, routers and kind of, next steps with the FCC guidelines about US manufactured ones. So that's the only thing I have left. Does anybody have any other topics that you'd like to discuss? Nothing? All right. So on March 27th, the FCC came down with a requirement that all routers that are going to be sold in the US that aren't already for sale be wholly manufactured in the US and have wholly US parts to them. Currently, there's only one router that fits that description, and that's the Starlink um, routers, which don't work for us because we are not a Starlink connected service. So
Yep.
that leads us to be in a little bit of a stuck place where we're trying to find a new router to distribute to all of Shutesbury residents, and we have nothing to choose from. Manufacturers can go through an approval process, or rather an application process, to prove out to the FCC that their routers meet federal guidelines for security with their components and manufacturing process. Um, as of now, I don't know of any routers that have either, or manufacturers that have entered this process or been approved. So we're a little bit stuck. There's been some ideas floated by all of you that perhaps I could reach out to MBI and say, what do we do here? The clock is ticking on using up this money, but we can't really use it because of this this block on routers. We could go ahead and use a portion of the money and just buy what's out there. I don't feel great about that because the risk of that is that we say we use that, $25,000 that we have in the grant, buy the routers, and then 3 months from now they're like, they don't meet the security requirements. These aren't an approved router. And all of a sudden we've spent all this money on routers that I would assume most Shutesbury residents may not want if they're not on the special list.
Yeah.
So,
It's
I
one
don't,
thing.
yeah.
They would
Yes,
they wouldn't be supported.
Graham then Steve?
They wouldn't be supported as well, probably. So it would be a problem that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Steve?
it's one thing as an individual to go out and one of us buys something to use in our home, takes that risk on a single item we bought, and says, "Well, I'll deal with the consequences." But for the MLP to do this for a townwide installation, yeah, that's much stickier. I think ill-advised.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wouldn't want a router that wasn't getting security updates as well. And that's what would be missing, I think.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, we're just in the same place that we are now where our Wi-Fi 5s are no longer supported, and we're trying to solve this and we can't. Um, so, um,
So,
as a yeah, what was it, Craig?
so my reading of it is that existing router models already authorized by the FCC can continue to be sold. Am I not reading that right?
No, I read that too, but I don't, it's, um, like if you go on Amazon and you look at the routers, does that mean because it's on Amazon and it's for sale, it's been approved already?
I would assume so. Amazon's not going to sell you a router that's not approved by the FCC. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, they're probably not allowed to sell a router that's not approved by the FCC.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that this mandate is just kind of like empty?
Well, what it means is that when Netgear wants to come out with a new router and get authorization from the FCC is going to say sorry because it wasn't made in the US. That's my reading of it. I don't know. Maybe we
Hmm.
want to get the town's lawyer to look at this, or as you say, I think that maybe MBI has thought of this already and gotten a ruling.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we
I
need
mean,
a better understanding of what actually this means. Um, do routers for sale already meet the criteria? Or is everything, but, okay,
or
wait.
have FCC approval.
Yeah, but
Uh,
even if we read it that way, though, that means that the routers that are kind of available right now are grandfathered in
Correct.
to be sold. And then, um,
it did sound a little like that.
right, right. But then can they keep making them?
I think so.
Okay.
Uh,
Because I'm just trying to think of like, okay,
because,
we buy 600 of them, and they're like, oh no, we're not making any more. It's selling anymore because they
well,
don't meet the requirements.
yeah, I mean, they're already quote unquote authorized for sale in the US. So I think that applies to things that have not been manufactured yet, but that particular model is authorized for sale in the US. Now, whether the Trump administration might put on additional restrictions a month from now, Lord only knows.
Right.
Um, but my reading of the current restriction is that if it's available for sale in the US, then it's legitimate.
Yeah, I thought that sounded like that. So
Hmm. Okay.
Oh, there is this software update deadline, which I don't understand. And we did talk about this before. Uh, I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So I can ask Dawn about this. Um, See if she can shed any light onto it. Where else could we get more information? I could ask MBI.
Yeah.
Anyone else that you can think of who?
HGE and
Oh,
Shell
right,
will have
right, yeah,
will
Yes.
have
Yes. Yes.
and that will only be in relation to them running stuff like Leverett because they've got Calyx and Calyx. Well, uh, I wonder where Calyx is made and designed. I mean, it's California. Calyx stands for California, right? Is
Oh,
that the K?
yeah,
Taiwan, I think.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
Okay. Oh,
none of these are currently
Yeah,
manufactured here, and even if they are, they have components,
Yeah.
right, that
yeah.
aren't um
But
made here. So that
Shell will know how it applies to Calyx, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they will. And this question about not allowing updates seems ridiculous on the face, right? Because I have a router in my house right now. They're going to tell me after March 1, 2027, I can't update it, which is ridiculous because it's all about security and updates are important for security,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, no,
But
it
I
makes
don't,
no sense.
that's the one part of the ruling I do not understand.
Ah, ah. The logic, I suspect, would be that they don't want the Chinese enemy or whatever foreign enemy updating our security by putting
Yeah.
worms and Trojan horses and sending
Well,
all their money.
as long as they put the worms and Trojan horses in before March 1, 2027, they're okay.
I know. No, that makes
And then I'm not allowed to do an update to get rid of the worm.
yeah. No, it's as crazy as some other federal policies. Yeah. No.
And you might argue to be cynical that now we're getting back to our original worry that they want to create a huge market starting in 2027 for routers made in Utah, right? But
Oh yeah.
but there's no way that the U.S. is going to start having enough production to replace all of the routers in the U.S. right now on March 2027. It's just not possible. Utah or Texas or whatever, there's no way they can do that.
Yep. It's
And
crazy.
not to mention that all the public's going to get pissed off because now they have to go buy a new router. Right?
Yeah.
I don't understand that part of the ruling, except for the. I understand the thing you're saying, but it still doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need a
Hmm.
legal ruling.
No. Well, We need a new federal government.
Well,
All right.
that's
Well,
for sure.
yeah, well, I will do some research and try to shed some light on exactly what does this mean for our purposes and as a as a basically an ISP stand-in service.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you think, Gail, any of the other municipalities that got this grant from MBI would be in a similar situation of actually using it to purchase routers or other equipment that would be impacted by this ruling?
I don't, but that's something that I can run by MBI. I don't have insight into what other towns are doing, but ask them, is anyone else doing a router deployment? And can I talk to them to see if we can, put our heads together, see how they're dealing with it.
As well as seeing if MBI is amenable to extending this till this all shakes out and we get a better understanding of what the ruling means, what we can actually purchase.
Right,
Yeah.
right. AI tells me that Netgear has reported that its products have achieved approved status and are not subject to that March 1 deadline.
All right. Excellent.
But
Wow.
that's AI telling me that. So who knows? Maybe they're
Okay, right.
and the AI probably went through a server in China. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's possible that Netgear really does have and the others are going to get it too. I mean,
Yeah, they have to sell to this market. So whatever it is, they're gonna work to make sure that it meets the approval.
right.
But yeah, kind of like when.
I mean, I think the concern is valid. Um, Although I wonder if a lot of the issue really isn't so much where the hardware is manufactured as the software, the operating system, the firmware in it.
I just put a link in the chat that's from Netgear that says they have this approval. It's on their
Mm,
website
okay.
for what it's worth. And again, I'll be surprised if the other major players don't also get this.
Yeah.
They probably have to pay extra fees to
Do we know
Trump,
what?
either
Yeah.
to the federal government or yeah, who knows. This is all about milking. Yeah,
Yeah, okay, so conditional approval. Okay. The first retail consumer router company to receive conditional approval. All right, well that's a really positive sign. Hopefully the rest will follow.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a Netgear Orbi that we installed in the AC
Oh, good.
and we yeah, but I liked that one. I tested it before I tested it here before we put it in there. So yeah, it was easy to install, yeah, as we know. It was good to install it. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was good too in the the interface
Yeah.
to the admin interface I thought was good as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. All right, well, to be continued.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Anything else
I
that
also
we
put another
should?
link in the chat just now. There's a CNET article about this, and one of the questions is: should I wait or rush to buy a new router?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they do say you might want to wait just to see what happens.
Oh, that's nice. They have an entire chart on this one about the router company and the status following the announcement. In that
Hmm.
CNET article, it would go through all the major manufacturers, um, and kind of like where they are, and subject to the ban.
Aye.
Okay.
That's weird because Taiwan is not a country that is on our bad list at all. I mean, I'm planning a trip there, and it's a Category 1 country, which means there's no restrictions on travel. At least this is all about tariffs.
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah, it's not. My understanding, it's not country based. It's all countries. It just
I
has
know
to be in the U.S. So only
it,
Texas
it's
is.
a it's effectively a tariff on foreign
Yeah.
routers is what it's going to end up being.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll stop
All right.
googling.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, but it's so attractive.
It
Just
is, I
sucked in
know.
there. Just sucked in there. Okay. Um, all right. Anything else before we adjourn? All right.
Nope.
And Jim, I will capture those URLs that Craig sent out so they can be part of the minutes. I'll send them to you in an email.
What are the URLs you just talked about?
Yeah. Yeah, we should probably put them in the official minutes because they've been referenced in a meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but
Yeah, that's
I'll
easy.
send them to you in an email, so don't worry about it.
Okay, well, as you know, I work on the minutes right after the meeting here, so as
Yes, I'll
soon
send
as,
them to you right away.
all right, thank you.
Sure. Um, okay.
Okay.
Well, thanks so much. And it is 6 o'clock and it is like fully daylight out. So,
It is.
Mm. And
And
warm.
summary.
yeah,
And
and
summary,
summery
yeah.
and warm, you can go and enjoy the evening.
Aye.
So,
Okay. Motion to
No.
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Aye.
sounds good.
Oh yeah. Bye bye, everyone.
All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.